to climb the social ladder and enter the world of the elite. This beautiful young woman shamelessly had an affair with the married heir to a wealthy family. She could be considered the ultimate mistress of the zodiac. After the affair began, she openly challenged the man's wife, not only demanding a divorce but also flaunting her pregnancy with the heir's child. The wife was not only shocked by the betrayal of her husband, but also humiliated by the mistress's brazen disrespect. But that very night, the mistress faced a bitter and harsh consequence, paying the price for her arrogance and envy for having an affair with a man she shouldn't have touched. Young Won is married to a wealthy novelist, and they live a comfortable life. Her husband is incredibly kind to her. A month ago, Young Won never would have imagined herself in this situation. As a reporter known for exposing the dark side of society and uncovering wrongdoing, Young Won garnered significant public attention. A top reporter for a television station. Not long ago, Young Won received a tip-off about Congressman Mo colluding with another reporter. She rushed to the scene of their meeting and took photos, later publishing the story as an exclusive. Despite offending powerful figures, Young Won was fearless. Professionally, she was the station's ratings ace. Personally, she had the perfect Woo Yi. Her husband, Woo Yi, was a wealthy man of leisure, but he was incredibly tender towards Young Won. He would personally pick her up from work and patiently massage her feet when they got home. For Young Won's third anniversary on air, he gifted her a limited edition necklace. Furthermore, despite his father's disapproval of Young Won, Woo Yi always defended her, providing her with a deep sense of security. Because of Young Won's exposé, the congressman and the reporter involved publicly apologized. Colleagues warned Young Won that Congressman Mo was a venomous snake and would likely seek revenge. Young Won remained unconcerned. As a member of the media, she refused to bow down to corrupt politicians. Later, Young Won received another tip, this time about incriminating evidence against Congressman Mo. Following the lead, she arrived at an old house, only to be met with the gruesome sight of a blood-soaked corpse. Young Won rushed to check and discovered the person was dead. The officer in charge of the case was Detective Tae-hyun. At the crime scene, Young Won felt Tae-hyun's gaze on her, sending a shiver down her spine. Tae-hyun offered her his coat and took her to the police station to make a statement. Young Won recounted the entire story to Tae-hyun. Unexpectedly, Congressman Mo arrived at the station. It turned out the deceased was his housekeeper, and the old house was the housekeeper's residence. Congressman Mo relentlessly questioned Young Won about her presence at the scene of the housekeeper's death, suspecting her involvement. Back home, Young Won ignored Woo Yi's concern and silently typed the night's events into her computer. As she typed, she noticed the ketchup on her hands from checking the body. Fear washed over her. She quickly showered, trying to cleanse herself of the horror evoked by the smell of blood. The scene of the housekeeper's death reminded her of her own father's murder years ago. He had been bludgeoned to death, his body found in their living room. The bloodstains remained vivid in her memory. Her father's killer was never found. One night, seeing his wife standing dazed on the balcony, Woo Yi gently draped a shawl around Young Won. At that moment, Young Won thought she heard a phone vibrating. Strangely, the sound wasn't coming from her phone or her husband's. Following the housekeeper's death, adhering to journalistic principles, Young Won reported the incident. However, this tarnished Congressman Mo's image in the media. He voiced his suspicions about Young Won, questioning her presence at the housekeeper's home late at night. Quickly, Young Won became the target of public criticism. Many speculated that she had harmed the housekeeper to fabricate an exclusive story. Negative comments about her flooded the internet. That night, she received a text message taunting her. "Why don't you grab your husband by the collar?" Young Won's programs were known for grabbing collars, meaning apprehending criminals. It seemed like Woo Yi was also involved in something shady. Young Won didn't pay much attention to the message. Her husband simply smiled after seeing it and even offered to take Young Won to pay respects at her late father's grave. Young Won's father, also a journalist, had taught her to face the truth. Woo Yi comforted her, saying, "It's okay to hide sometimes. I'm here. Everything will be all right." His tenderness brought her solace. A month later, under her husband's care, Young Won's emotional state improved. But that very day, she received another message from the same number. The sender again urged her to grab her husband by the collar, implying he was deceiving her. Upon seeing the message, her husband remained calm, telling her to delete it and not worry. Half-jokingly, Young-won asked. "Are you hiding something from me?" Woo Yi seemed displeased by her suspicion. Young-won quickly coaxed him, and he yielded to her affectionate charm. During a meeting at the television station to discuss story ideas, Young-won received a call from a popular actress. The actress asked Young-won to come to her house, claiming to have something important to discuss. A month prior, Young-won had briefly met this actress. The actress had mentioned she was dating someone, also a writer, like Woo Yi. Hoping for a big story, Young-won rushed to the actress's house. Upon arrival, Young-won noticed the actress wearing the same limited edition necklace Woo Yi had given her. Moreover, the actress's home was filled with novels written by her husband. Young-won assumed she was a fan and expressed gratitude on her husband's behalf. Unexpectedly, the actress revealed a shocking truth. "Your husband is having an affair with me. That's what I wanted to tell you. I sent those grab him by the collar messages." Young-won was incredulous. The two messages were sent a month apart. If the actress was truly involved with her husband, why wait so long? The actress, eloquent and composed, explained that Woo Yi had asked her to wait a month, promising to divorce his wife within that time frame. But a month had passed, and he still hadn't followed through on his promise to divorce. Unable to bear it any longer, the actress sent a second message to Young-won. Still incredulous, Young-won demanded proof. The actress refused, telling Young-won to ask her husband instead. Faced with the incredibly arrogant woman, Young-won's face was filled with anger. The actress continued to taunt her, even bringing her face close to Young-won's with a provocative expression. It made Young-won want to slap her, but she restrained her anger and turned to leave. The actress wouldn't give up, demanding that Young-won divorce her husband and threatening that she wouldn't let go. Young-won confronted the actress. "Whether I divorce or not is my decision. To me, you're nothing." Young-won was completely exasperated. Still persistent, the actress even chased her out and handed Young-won an envelope. Inside was an ultrasound picture. The actress declared she was pregnant with her husband's child. Young-won calmly replied that this irrelevant photo was not proof, and she wouldn't give the actress a second thought. To retaliate, Young-won brought up rumors of the actress being kept by Assemblyman Mo. This became a hot topic online, with everyone discussing Assemblyman Mo as the actress's sponsor. Furious, the actress slapped Young-won. Young-won simply smoothed her hair and turned to leave. Unable to provoke her, the actress was left fuming, while Young-won had at least won this battle. Though she maintained her composure in front of the actress, the moment Young-won stepped into the elevator, she collapsed and burst into tears. The thought of her husband's infidelity was deeply ingrained in her mind. That night, overwhelmed with emotions, Young-won went to the police station to inquire about the progress of her housekeeper's case. Officer Tae-hyun noticed Young-won's despair. He not only shielded her from an oncoming car, but also pulled her into his own vehicle, offering to take her home. He even proactively bought her headache medicine. Her husband called, his tone as gentle as ever. Young-won didn't ask him anything, but looking at the ultrasound picture in her hand, she couldn't help but cry. Tae-hyun, witnessing this, realized Young-won's inner turmoil and felt concerned for her. The following day, to confirm her husband's infidelity, Young-won followed him and saw him enter a building that housed an obstetrics and gynecology department. Anxious, Young-won followed but witnessed an unexpected scene. Woo Yi was only visiting a couple's counseling center next door. That same night, Young-won received another tip and went to a building. But what she found was the scene of an immolation, the victim being none other than the actress who had supposedly been having an affair with her husband. Terrified, Young-won was about to call the police when her boss called. He offered her a promotion to anchor the 9 o'clock news, a position Young-won had dreamed of for years. For the sake of her future, Young-won quickly took pictures of the immolation scene, then went up the stairs and down another flight. A nurse from the clinic happened to see someone going down the stairs. Young-won made an excuse to pass through the door. While meeting with the therapist, Young-won discreetly hid a bloodstain on her sleeve, which she had accidentally gotten on her clothing at the crime scene. The session then ended. Young-won noticed the building was under renovation. The elevator hallway hadn't yet had security cameras installed. In other words, she had witnessed the crime scene, but no one would know. Meanwhile, Tae-hyun was thinking about Young-won. He had witnessed her crying the night before, and it bothered him. Lost in thought, he received a call about a new case. The case Taehyun rushed to investigate was the immolation of the actress. The crime scene was the actress's company, which hadn't officially opened yet. Taehyun found the scene eerily familiar. Many characteristics were similar to the previous case of the housekeeper's murder. Moreover, the building had no surveillance cameras. Taehyun realized the killer had deliberately chosen this specific time to deceive others. The autopsy also revealed that the actress's immolation was almost identical to the housekeeper's murder. The perpetrator targeted the same areas in both cases. Taehyun suspected the two cases might be connected. The medical examiner also made a shocking discovery. The actress was 3 months pregnant. This led Taehyun to consider a crime of passion. News of the actress's immolation quickly spread. The day before the incident, the actress had met with Young-won. When her boss asked for details, Young-won casually lied, saying the actress was just joking around. To uncover the truth, Young-won went to Taehyun for clues. Faced with Young-won, Taehyun seemed unable to refuse. Young-won probed, wanting to know if the actress was truly pregnant. Taehyun's counter-question confirmed the truth for her. Looking at the ultrasound picture the actress had given her, Young-won couldn't help but suspect her husband. Upon returning home, Young-won confronted him directly. Faced with his wife's suspicion, Woo-yi calmly retrieved a greeting card from the room. It was express mail sent by the actress. He explained that he had met her at a publisher's dinner, and she had been constantly harassing him ever since. To prove his fidelity, he showed her the blocked contacts on his phone, which included the actress's number. He even swore that if the actress hadn't died, he would have demanded an explanation. Young-won then asked her husband why he had visited the couple's counseling center, which was on the same floor as the obstetrics and gynecology department. She suspected the actress's child was his. He explained he had been diagnosed with depression due to loneliness. This explanation reassured Young-won. It seemed the actress was merely a one-sided harasser. Young-won promised her husband she would spend more time with him. However, that same day, Young-won discovered the limited edition necklace her husband had given her was missing. She remembered the actress wearing a similar necklace before her death. At work, Young-won interviewed a woman who had been cheated on in her marriage. The woman recounted how her husband had seemed perfect at first, but then small details revealed his true nature. For instance, she would hear a phone vibrating in the house and later discovered her husband had a second phone. The woman's story reminded Young-won of herself. Her husband also seemed perfect, but she too had heard a vibrating phone in their house. Young-won suspected her husband might also have a second phone. For this reason, she contacted her informant, asking them to check the phone numbers registered under her husband's name. Taehyun continued investigating the actress's immolation. He found numerous novels at her home, all authored by Woo-yi. Furthermore, there was a box of pastries in the actress's refrigerator. Surveillance footage showed Young-won delivering the pastries. Indeed, Taehyun checked the building's security footage and discovered that Young-won had been outside the building on the night of the incident. Taehyun immediately went to question Young-won. Young-won answered frankly, admitting to meeting the actress the day before the incident. Having said that, Young-won prepared to leave. Taehyun blocked the doorway, refusing to let her go. Security footage from the day before the incident showed the actress giving Young-won a bag and slapping her across the face. Taehyun wanted to know what was in the bag and why Young-won was slapped. Young-won refused to answer. Taehyun then asked why Young-won was at the building the night of the incident. Young-won, seemingly anticipating this question, said she was there to see a therapist. After answering, she reminded Taehyun that they were standing too close. Taehyun then stepped back. Young-won entered the elevator. Taehyun pursued her. Based on a novel found in the actress's apartment, and recalling Young-won crying in her car that night, Taehyun theorized that the actress may have been having an affair with Woo-yi, Young-won's husband. Young-won still refused to answer, only telling Taehyun to watch his words. Undeterred, Taehyun followed her out and returned her pen. Young-won threw the pen in the trash. This gesture deeply affected Taehyun. Years ago, before Young-won had achieved her current success, she would often pester Taehyun, then a criminal investigations officer, for case details. It was during one such encounter in an elevator that Young-won, admiring his handsome features, had asked Taehyun to write down his contact information with his pen. In a flirtatious tone, she'd asked, "Does this handsome officer have a girlfriend?" Learning he was single, Young-won became excited, anticipating a potential relationship. Unfortunately, now Young-won was married to someone else. That night, Young-won secretly unlocked her husband's phone, but found no trace of the actress. The next morning, her father-in-law came to visit. During dinner, she realized that he had brought Assemblyman Mo, the politician she had previously exposed, along with him. Her father-in-law expected Young-won to apologize to Assemblyman Mo. Young-won flatly refused. As a reporter dedicated to uncovering societal injustices, she couldn't bow down to a corrupt politician. Unexpectedly, Assemblyman Mo brought up Young-won's father, a journalist with a similar commitment to justice who had died suddenly. Assemblyman Mo's words seemed to carry a veiled warning, reminding Young-won not to suffer the same fate as her father. When Young-won asked how he knew her father, Assemblyman Mo changed the subject, mocking her for marrying the wrong man. This stunned Young-won. Regarding the actress's cremation, Taehyun received confirmation from a nurse that Young-won had indeed been at the building the night of the incident, visiting the therapist's office. Furthermore, Taehyun discovered that the actress's brother had gambling debts. He had been in the building's parking garage the night of the incident. When questioned, his answers were inconsistent. Taehyun asked if he knew the identity of the actress's boyfriend, which he denied. However, according to the actress's agent, she was indeed seeing someone whose identity remained a mystery. Every text and call from the actress's phone had been immediately deleted. Her agent also revealed that the actress's brother frequently demanded money from her, resorting to threats if she refused. The agent then provided Young-won with a crucial clue. Her husband had a burner phone. The registered name for the number had been erased, and the phone was currently off, making it untraceable. Young-won's suspicions deepening, she searched and eventually found the burner phone in a nearby trash can. All texts and call logs had been wiped. Young-won immediately took it to a phone repair specialist, requesting full data recovery. A member of Taehyun's team uncovered a vital lead, confirming that the person with the most calls to and from the actress was Woo Yi. Furious, Taehyun was convinced that Woo Yi was the man having an affair with the actress. Meanwhile, Young-won received a tip and rushed to the home of the woman she had previously interviewed, arriving just in time to witness the woman arguing with her husband. Young-won intervened and was injured in the ensuing altercation. At that critical moment, Taehyun, alerted to the situation, arrived on the scene to find Young-won cornered. He immediately subdued the man, who was then arrested. But Taehyun's primary concern was Young-won's injured arm. He angrily asked her why she would put herself in such danger. Young-won could see that he still cared deeply for her. Back home, the informant sent a message. They had retrieved location history for phone numbers present at the building where the actress was cremated. Young-won discovered her husband's burner phone number among them. In other words, her husband had also been at the building the night of the incident. Young-won confronted her husband. Just as he was about to respond, the doorbell rang. It was Taehyun. Suspecting Woo Yi's involvement in the actress's death, Taehyun brought him to the police station. At the station, Taehyun presented the actress's call logs, showing Woo Yi as the person who communicated with her most frequently, including the last call before her death. Taehyun suspected the actress was Woo Yi's mistress. Woo Yi calmly smiled, claiming the actress had been unilaterally harassing him, which was why he had gone to her workplace that night. He explained that he had only visited a restaurant in the same building. During the autopsy, it was revealed that the actress had been 3 months pregnant. Suspecting the child was Woo Yi's, Taehyun requested a DNA test. Woo Yi didn't object, but with no concrete evidence against him, Taehyun had to release him. Watching Woo Yi walk free from the station, Taehyun lost his composure. It was clear that anything involving Young-won made him lose control. At the television station, a meeting was held to discuss the actress's case. Young-won hadn't revealed her suspicions about her husband to the police. At that moment, Woo Yi brought snacks for his colleagues. Young-won pulled him aside, demanding to know if he had seen the actress the night of the incident. He continued to deny it. Young-won was assigned to follow up on an interview regarding the actress's case. The focus of the interview was the actress's brother. He was a known gambler. Young-won uncovered a crucial piece of information. He had received a 3 billion won life insurance payout from his sister's death, the exact amount of his gambling debt. The investigation team also looked into the brother and found the actress's account completely drained. He had been borrowing money from her, and he had no alibi for the night of the incident. Facing relentless questioning from the police and the media, the brother insisted he hadn't harmed his sister, claiming she had known she was going to die. He also stated that 1 or 2 people were out to get her. Turning away, he called Assemblyman Mo, complaining about the harassment from the police and media. From the tone of his voice, it seemed he was threatening Congressman Mo, offering to help him resolve an issue. Congressman Mo agreed to a meeting, while simultaneously keeping tabs on the news about actress Young Won's gilding case. Young Won went to the phone repairman. It was Wu Yi's backup phone that she had found. Unfortunately, the phone was completely damaged, and the data within was unrecoverable. Her husband's DNA results were also in. Young Won and her husband went to the police station together. Taehyun announced that the DNA didn't match, meaning the child Young Won was carrying wasn't her husband's. Young Won was relieved. However, her husband said he wanted to stay and talk to Taehyun for a bit. It seemed Wu Yi knew the relationship between his wife and the police officer wasn't simple. Young Won acted coldly, saying she and Taehyun didn't know each other. Hearing this, Taehyun looked saddened. This woman always seemed to have a way of making him lose his composure. When Young Won got home, she directly asked her husband about his relationship with the actress. He explained everything, saying the backup phone was just for dealing with boring calls and that the actress had been stalking and bothering him. He claimed he didn't care about her at all. At the same time, her husband also offered an analysis. The timing of the actress's gilding was too coincidental. The day of the crime happened to be the day he and his wife each visited that building, as if someone had deliberately arranged it. The goal, he suggested, seemed to be targeting one of them. Young Won thought her husband's words made sense, so she went to the psychology clinic the next day. The clinic and the scene of the actress's gilding were in the same building. She had inadvertently stumbled into the actress's studio because the nurse had given her the wrong floor number. The nurse also found it strange, as all the other addresses she gave to clients that day were correct. She didn't know why she gave Young Won the wrong address. While they were talking, news broke that her husband was having an affair with the actress. Young Won immediately thought of the phone repairman, suspecting he had leaked the information to fellow reporters. If that were true, it meant the repairman had lied, and there must be evidence of the affair on her husband's backup phone. Sure enough, after hearing the news, the phone repairman ran away. Young Won asked her informant to track him down. The informant found his location. Young Won immediately set off and found him at an internet cafe. The repairman tried to escape. Young Won was knocked down during the chase. Just when she thought she was about to lose the lead, Taehyun appeared and tackled him. Taehyun had also seen the news and, while investigating, discovered Young Won was at the internet cafe. He followed her and found the place. According to the repairman, the reason he lied to her was that he had been threatened by her husband. Her husband gave him money, told him to completely destroy the data on the phone and lie to her. But fortunately, the repairman had kept a backup copy on his computer. Analyzing the backup data on her husband's phone, there was indeed a compromising video. Young Won anxiously clicked on it. In an instant, she collapsed. The video showed her husband and the actress in a room together, having spent countless nights together. Her husband had completely forgotten their initial vows. Coincidentally, her husband called at this moment, still lying, trying to escape the truth of his affair. After hanging up, Young Won couldn't hold back her tears. She still couldn't accept that the man who swore he would only love her had betrayed her with lies. Young Won walked down the street in despair. The next day, Wu Yi was interviewed by the media, and he also affirmed that he only loved his wife until death. Thinking about this now, Young Won only felt sadness. At this time, her husband was looking for someone outside the phone repair shop, and Taehyun had been waiting there for a long time. Witnessing Young Won's tears, Taehyun felt heartbroken. He told her husband that she had seen the video of him and the actress. Then, Taehyun scolded Wu Yi, saying he wasn't a good person and didn't deserve Young Won. Taehyun seemed to despise this deceitful man even more. Young Won returned home and threw the dishes on the table to the floor in front of her husband. She couldn't forgive his betrayal. Seeing that he could no longer hide the truth, Wu Yi shifted the blame onto the actress, claiming she had seduced him. Young Won smiled bitterly and asked how many times he had slept with her. If she hadn't exposed him, Wu Yi would have undoubtedly continued to deceive her, and she would have remained a fool, forever tricked. Seeing his wife in tears, Wu Yi slowly expressed his feelings, saying it was because he felt that, compared to his love, she didn't love him as much. Due to being busy with work these past few years, Young-won had neglected her husband's loneliness. Young-won felt her husband was just avoiding responsibility. She even suspected him of gilding the actress. Wu Yi denied it. Unfortunately, Young-won no longer believed his words. As a journalist, she would investigate her husband thoroughly. That night, Young-won wept miserably. She remembered years ago when Wu Yi had proposed romantically. Sadly, time had changed everything. Her husband also cried. The affair was real, but his love for his wife, he claimed, was not fake. The next day, the actress's brother came to find Wu Yi. After seeing the news, he knew Wu Yi was his sister's boyfriend. He threatened Wu Yi about the affair, aiming to extort money. In front of his wife, he was gentle and generous, but faced with the threat, his demeanor changed, becoming violent and sinister. He took out a photo on his phone and threatened the brother back. It was a picture of him abusing the actress. Using this photo, Wu Yi successfully turned the tables. He warned the actress's brother, mockingly mentioning the last phone call the brother had made to him, saying he was coming over, and then asked him if he suspected the brother of gilding the actress. After a huge fight with her husband, Young-won packed her bags and moved into a hotel. Afterward, she quickly regained her composure and even proposed to her superiors at the TV station that she investigate and report on the actress's case, believing it would lead to more clues. During this process, Young-won had a thought. Perhaps when she accidentally entered the crime scene, the actress wasn't dead yet. If she hadn't fled the scene in fear, maybe none of this would have happened. Under immense pressure, Young-won went to see a therapist. She expressed her distress at being betrayed, but she had no intention of tolerating it. Instead, she was determined to return all the humiliation she had suffered to her husband. Meanwhile, after being suspected by the police, Wu Yi had told Tae-hyun about his alibi. On the night of the incident, he had gotten into a fight with a restaurant employee in the building. Tae-hyun checked the security footage and confirmed that Wu Yi wasn't lying. When he left the building, the crime hadn't yet occurred. But at the same time, Tae-hyun had seen on the surveillance footage that, a day before the incident, Wu Yi had entered and exited the building with another mysterious woman. This was why he hadn't revealed his alibi sooner. Tae-hyun suspected Wu Yi and this mysterious woman might also have an unusual relationship. The necklace found at the crime scene was a woman's necklace. Tae-hyun suspected the perpetrator might be a woman, so he revisited the crime scene to investigate further. This time, Tae-hyun seemed to have found crucial evidence. He then asked Young-won to come to the police station with him. Young-won seemed a little nervous. At this point, Tae-hyun took out the necklace. He had found an interview photo of Young-won wearing the same necklace and concluded it was hers. He then asked her directly if she had been at the crime scene on the night of the incident. She said it was possible the actress had bought the same one. However, Tae-hyun had investigated further. The purchase registration information for the necklace was under Young-won's name. After this investigation, Tae-hyun figured out why the actress had slapped Young-won a few days prior. They had been arguing about her husband's affair. In other words, Young-won had suspected her husband of betrayal for a long time, and just a few days later, the actress was gilded. This made Tae-hyun think. Young-won had lied about never being at the crime scene and had mentioned her father's immolation years ago. Her father had died similarly to the actress. Now, even if she wanted to immolate someone, she wouldn't use the same method. Back home, Young-won reviewed the crime scene photos of the actress's immolation. The photos showed no necklace at the scene. Young-won's informant had uncovered inside information revealing that the police's original crime scene photos did show the necklace on the actress's hand. In other words, the killer placed the necklace there after Young-won left. Young-won suspected her husband, as he was the only one who could easily access her necklace, but she had no proof. Knowing Tae-hyun was looking for Young-won to question her, Wu Yi went to the police station and told Tae-hyun to stop suspecting his wife. He could endure anything, but he wouldn't tolerate his wife being the target of public criticism. Tae-hyun didn't back down, bringing up the video of Wu Yi's affair with the actress. The actress in the video had captivated the husbands of many women. Tae-hyun suspected Wu Yi might have other mistresses besides the actress. On the day of the incident, a woman was seen leaving Wu Yi's studio and entering the building where the actress was immolated. Taehyun believed this woman was Wu Yi's second mistress and vowed to find her. He checked the actress's phone records and found a call to Assemblyman Mo's aide. Upon questioning, the aide revealed that weeks earlier, he had witnessed a fan harming himself in front of the actress. He'd chased the fan away to avoid media scrutiny. The actress saved his number, intending to call him as a witness. But besides this call, she had also contacted the aide 3 days before her death. The aide explained she'd invited him to dinner as a thank you, but he had no solid alibi for the time of the incident. The actress's manager revealed that a male fan had been stalking her in the days leading up to the incident. The man worked for a decorating company. Taehyun's investigation revealed this man's name on Wu Yi's appointment calendar. Taehyun thought he had him, but the man explained he and Wu Yi were high school classmates and the calendar entry marked a loan repayment. News of Youngwon's police questioning immediately attracted media attention. Public speculation targeted her, with many believing she was the one who immolated the actress. There were calls to cancel Youngwon's show. Under public pressure, the network considered replacing her with another journalist. Youngwon went to see her manager, but was intercepted by a rival reporter. The rival's smugness fueled Youngwon's determination. The show was the result of 3 years of hard work, and she wouldn't let anyone destroy it. To save her show, she decided to make a deal with her father-in-law, the chairman of a company with connections to the network. She intended to use the threat of divorce as leverage, hoping he'd protect her show. However, her father-in-law wanted her to stay with his son and publicly defend him. As chairman, he needed to resolve the situation immediately to protect his company's and family's image. Youngwon was left with a choice: stay with her unfaithful husband or lose the show she'd worked so hard to build. This decision wasn't difficult for her. The next day, the media interviewed Youngwon about her husband's infidelity. She publicly denied it, falsely claiming she would always support him to protect his career. Because of Youngwon's choice, her father-in-law kept his promise and persuaded the network to keep her show on air for the time being. Furious at Youngwon's defense of her clearly guilty husband, Taehyun slammed his hand on the table. That night, he stormed into Youngwon's hotel room, demanding to know why she was protecting her cheating husband. Youngwon couldn't answer. Taehyun noticed a photo of the actress's immolation crime scene on a nearby computer screen. He tried to check the computer, but Youngwon slammed it shut. During the argument, Taehyun's tone softened, his concern showing as he grasped her arm. Face to face, Taehyun seemed to struggle with his emotions, given their past relationship. Years ago, as a rookie cop and a fledgling reporter, they had been a couple. Taehyun had never forgotten their sweet first kiss, and he clearly still had feelings for his ex-girlfriend. Sensing his agitation, Youngwon pulled away and, in front of her ex-boyfriend, insisted she loved her husband. Taehyun sadly noticed Youngwon was wearing the same burgundy coat she'd worn the day of the incident. The mysterious woman with Wu Yi had worn a similar coat. He warned Youngwon, "Your husband must have bought that woman a matching coat. She might be more than just his mistress. She could be the one who immolated the actress." Because of the deal, Wu Yi left the hotel and returned home. He feigned remorse, claiming he could lose everything but her and begging for a chance to change. Youngwon outwardly agreed, but inwardly she no longer trusted him. She secretly removed the listening device she'd planted in his office and installed a GPS tracker on his car. As expected, the listening device yielded a crucial clue. In the recording, Wu Yi was on the phone in his office, telling someone that if they'd been more careful, she wouldn't have found out, urging them to forget something. Youngwon deduced her husband and the person on the phone had been at the actress's immolation scene. Since Wu Yi had an alibi, the killer could only be the mysterious person on the phone. The next day, Youngwon gave the recording to her therapist, asking her to give it to the police if anything happened to her. The seemingly sympathetic therapist agreed. Then, Youngwon noticed a burgundy coat identical to her own in the therapist's office, and she was stunned. She realized the seemingly kind doctor was her husband's other mistress. Youngwon's suspicions were confirmed. She recalled her husband's recent solo visit to the therapist, remembering their ambiguous conversation and physical contact. Immediately, Youngwon contacted the clinic's nurse and got her drunk. The inebriated nurse revealed the therapist secretly recorded her therapy sessions. Young-won asked her to steal the video of the actress's session. At the same time, Young-won found her husband's high school photos. The photos showed Woo Yi and the therapist together. Young-won was shocked to discover they were high school sweethearts. Though Young-won remained composed, the sharp-eyed and perceptive therapist noticed her suspicions. Her husband, Woo Yi, secretly met with the female psychiatrist. Their conversation suggested they each held leverage over the other. Woo Yi declared he would end his affair with her. The psychiatrist responded by cryptically revealing a secret. Young-won, his wife, had sought counseling on the day the actress was cremated. The psychiatrist then claimed to have noticed bloodstains on Young-won's sleeve that day. She threatened to expose Young-won as a suspect to the media if Woo Yi broke things off. Panicked by the potential danger to his wife, Woo Yi frantically searched for the tracking device she had placed in his car, prompted by the psychiatrist's words. He then looked for the shirt his wife wore on the day of the incident, but it was gone. He suspected she had burned it. Young-won slapped him, furious. Everything that was happening was because of his infidelity. She couldn't bear his cheating and subsequent suspicion of her. Woo Yi embraced her tenderly. If she were truly guilty, he swore he'd do everything in his power to protect her. Meanwhile, Tae-hyun located Woo Yi's high school classmate. The classmate was not only the deceased actress's lover, but had also marked a date on his calendar corresponding to a meeting with Woo Yi. Putting two and two together, Tae-hyun suspected the classmate had discovered the affair between the actress and Woo Yi and used this information to blackmail him. The marked date was when Woo Yi made monthly payments to the classmate through an intermediary. Through the classmate, Tae-hyun uncovered a crucial clue. Both he and Woo Yi graduated from the same high school in Muon City, the actress's birthplace. Even Councilman Mo, the actress's financial backer, had worked as a prosecutor there. In other words, everyone connected to the case, except Young-won, had ties to Muon City. Tae-hyun realized something significant must have happened in Muon, a major event linking these individuals. Young-won's colleague, reporter No, paid Tae-hyun a visit, hoping to extract details about the case. When rebuffed, reporter No resorted to threats. He knew Tae-hyun and Young-won had a secret relationship 3 years prior. With Young-won a suspect, he warned that revealing their past connection could cause a scandal. To protect Young-won, Tae-hyun vehemently denied reporter No's accusations, lying about any relationship with her. After seeing reporter No off, Tae-hyun visited the cemetery to pay his respects to his deceased partner, Officer Cha. His partner was the reason he broke up with Young-won. 3 years earlier, Tae-hyun discovered his partner's embezzlement and bribery. At the time, Young-won, working on her show Grab Your, was about to expose Officer Cha's corruption. Tae-hyun found his partner after he had fallen from a building. Before dying, Officer Cha told Tae-hyun, "Don't trust Young-won," implying she had used Tae-hyun to get closer to the investigation. Tae-hyun had confronted Young-won about it, but she struggled to convince him, leading to their breakup. Now, visiting his partner's grave, Tae-hyun reflected on the past. To his surprise, Young-won arrived to pay her respects as well. In front of his ex-girlfriend, Tae-hyun brought up his partner's death. Young-won remained unapologetic. As a journalist, she was merely fulfilling her duty and felt no responsibility for his partner's death. The next day, Young-won accompanied her husband to a corporate launch event. Tae-hyun also attended, hoping to identify the woman in the red coat suspected in the case. He watched, discomfort evident in his eyes, as Young-won and her husband held hands intimately in public. The psychiatrist was also invited to the event. Young-won deliberately invited her to dinner afterward, a move her husband subtly declined, uncomfortable with the psychiatrist's growing proximity to them. At the launch, reporter No aggressively questioned Young-won about the cremation case. Unfazed, she pointed suspicion at the actress's brother, citing his threats against the actress and lack of a solid alibi. Her statement immediately shifted everyone's attention to him. Young-won seized the opportunity to announce her participation in a program airing the following month, promising to reveal the truth about the actress's cremation. Afterward, she noticed Tae-hyun following Woo Yi and decided to follow them both. Unbeknownst to them, the relentless reporter No trailed Young-won, hoping to photograph her with Tae-hyun as proof of their past relationship. Noticing reporter No tailing her, Young-won called Tae-hyun and asked to meet. Tae-hyun discreetly led her to a deserted warehouse. He pressed her on why she protected her deceitful husband, but Young-won remained silent. Suddenly, someone tried to open the warehouse door. Thinking quickly, Taehyun draped his jacket over Youngwon's head and told the worker he was conducting official police business. Meanwhile, reporter No had found Woo Yi. Faced with a barrage of questions from the eager press, Woo Yi consistently defended his wife. Reporter No pointedly remarked that Youngwon was a woman who attracted male attention. Just then, Taehyun and Youngwon finished their conversation and prepared to leave the warehouse. To protect Youngwon, Taehyun exited first. After confirming reporter No wasn't outside, he signaled for Youngwon to follow. Woo Yi, watching from an upper floor, witnessed this exchange. Combined with reporter No's earlier comment, he began to suspect Taehyun still harbored feelings for his wife. Woo Yi confronted Taehyun about it. Taehyun countered with his own question, "Who is the woman wearing the red coat identical to Youngwon's?" Woo Yi shot back, "How do you know Youngwon owns a red coat?" Taehyun, instead of revealing he'd seen it in her hotel room, lied and said she wore it to the police station for questioning. Woo Yi teased him about noticing his wife's clothes, implying Taehyun was overly interested in her. Taehyun quickly changed the subject, focusing on the actress's case and voicing his suspicions about Muon. Woo Yi's unusually evasive reaction to the mention of Muon further piqued Taehyun's suspicion. Taehyun's persistent questioning angered Woo Yi, who shoved him against a railing, warning him not to push too hard. Taehyun didn't back down, and the two argued heatedly. Youngwon arrived just in time to intervene, and Woo Yi relented. Unbeknownst to them, Youngwon had overheard their conversation, learning about Muon and a nurse who had sent a video of the actress's therapy session. She realized the actress had mentioned the name Na Rai during the session, the same name Woo Yi had uttered in his sleep. Simultaneously, Taehyun discovered information about a chemical plant fire in Muon City. The plant owner, who perished in the fire, was the husband of the housekeeper who was cremated before the actress. The prosecutor in charge of that case was none other than Councilman Mo. Taehyun suspected the housekeeper had been trying to uncover the truth about the fire, leading her to work for Councilman Mo. That night, determined to identify the mysterious Na Rai, Youngwon traveled to Muon. On the way, she sensed someone following her. She ducked into a corner and swung her bag at her pursuer, only to discover it was Taehyun. Youngwon warned him to stop following her if he didn't want to be arrested. The next day, Youngwon visited the high school her husband and the psychiatrist attended. Feigning interest in filming a promotional video for her husband, she inquired about Na Rai. The principal recalled Na Rai as Woo Yi's classmate. Years ago, during the Muon chemical plant fire, Na Rai had perished. At the same time, Taehyun was investigating the gold-plating murder of the housekeeper in Muon. Coincidentally, this case was also connected to the chemical plant fire. The suspect named at the time was the factory owner, also the husband of the housekeeper who died in the fire. However, the housekeeper's relative revealed that after the chemical plant incident 3 years prior, the housekeeper had called them while drunk, claiming her husband wasn't responsible for the fire. The relative also mentioned Assemblyman Mo. Assemblyman Mo was the prosecutor in charge of the case back then. The relative said they had pleaded with Assemblyman Mo to investigate thoroughly. However, after the incident, Assemblyman Mo hastily reached a final decision, convicting the factory owner. That day, Youngwon learned about Taehyun's investigation results from the housekeeper's relative. The actress's case and the housekeeper's case were deemed related. Taehyun also went to the high school and learned from the principal that Youngwon had been there too. According to the principal, Taehyun noticed the female doctor. Combined with the photos taken at the facility a few days ago, Taehyun guessed that this female doctor was romantically involved with Woo Yi and was the woman in the red coat that night. Taehyun confronted Youngwon, asking why she had discovered the identity of the woman in the red coat, but hadn't told him. Taehyun felt Youngwon was still the same as before, prone to deception and using him. 3 years ago, Taehyun believed Youngwon had intentionally approached him to undermine his partner. He even doubted the sincerity of her declaration of love. Now, 3 years later, faced with Taehyun's suspicion, Youngwon reiterated similar sentiments. Taehyun, deeply saddened, resorted to drinking. Witnessing this, Youngwon snatched the bottle away. Taehyun had previously suffered from cirrhosis due to alcohol abuse and couldn't drink anymore. But this time, Youngwon told Taehyun the truth. Reunited after their breakup, Taehyun discovered his ex-girlfriend's husband was cheating on her. He knew she wasn't okay. This bruised Young-won's pride. Understanding her feelings, Taehyun pursued her again. It started to rain. Taehyun once again held Young-won's hand, taking shelter at a bus stop. It had been a long time since they'd seen each other since their breakup. The atmosphere was quiet and melancholic. Taehyun also confessed his feelings after becoming intoxicated. Since seeing Young-won again, he had been irritable and easily angered because the woman he couldn't forget had married someone else. That night, Young-won helped a drunken Taehyun back to his hotel. While drunk, Taehyun said he wanted to believe Young-won. Just then, Woo-yi called and overheard Taehyun's voice. That same night, Woo-yi was alone at home. The female doctor arrived uninvited, going straight to Young-won's bedroom. She sprayed Young-won's perfume, applied her lipstick, and deliberately slept in her bed. Enraged, Woo-yi pulled the female doctor out of his wife's bed, declaring that he would do anything to destroy anyone who posed a threat to his wife. Hearing this, the female doctor became even more frantic. She even confessed to being the one who gold-plated the actress to get Woo-yi's attention. The next morning, Taehyun woke up from his drunken stupor. Young-won proactively drove him to eat hangover soup and recounted all her investigation findings in Muon. Taehyun realized the chemical plant collision wasn't a simple accident. So, he and Young-won went to the local police station to investigate. After the chemical plant incident, the victim left behind personal belongings. Among them was a pocket watch. The owner of this pocket watch was none other than Na Rai, Woo-yi's classmate. Strangely, the pocket watch had no battery. The time was frozen at the moment of the incident. Taehyun thought about the scenes of the housekeeper and actress's gold-plating murders. The batteries in their watches had been removed, and all the times were stopped at the moment of their deaths. Taehyun suspected that the culprit behind the chemical plant incident might also be the murderer in these two cases. Removing the batteries from the watches at the precise time of the crimes seemed intentional, like a grand, theatrical display of criminal activity. So far, the female doctor was the prime suspect. The next step was to find the connection between the female doctor's case, the housekeeper's case, and the chemical plant incident. While discussing the case with Young-won, Taehyun noticed a car tailing him. He tried to lose it, but the other car sped off. The person who had been following him contacted Assemblyman Mo to explain the situation. Assemblyman Mo then contacted the chief of the police station where Taehyun worked and requested a meeting. At the end of their trip to Muon, Taehyun drove Young-won home. Young-won refused to let him drive her to her doorstep, not wanting to cause any misunderstandings. Watching her walk away, Taehyun's expression was filled with worry. At home, Woo-yi watched a video. It was from when he and Young-won were dating, a record of their love, filmed at the beach. Looking back at their sweet past, he felt a deep sadness. Young-won arrived home. Woo-yi asked her how she was, but Young-won remained silent, her face cold. Woo-yi went straight to her study, hoping she would seriously give him another chance and express her feelings. Even if she didn't forgive him, he vowed to protect her. However, soon after, Woo-yi learned from his secretary that his wife's business trip had been to Muon. Remembering Taehyun's voice on the phone the previous night, suspicion arose within him. The next day, he secretly searched Young-won's bag and found a receipt inside. It showed she had bought 2 coffees in Muon. Confirming she had been there, he anxiously called his father, urging him to find out what Young-won had been investigating in Muon. Meanwhile, Young-won contacted her informant, asking them to investigate the female doctor. She also noticed her husband had snooped through her bag and seen the receipt. This time, she decided to stir the hornet's nest, deliberately revealing to her husband about her trip to Muon, saying she had gathered a lot of important information there. Woo-yi asked if she had gone alone. Young-won chose to lie, not wanting him to know about her interaction with Taehyun. Taehyun was now facing trouble. Since Assemblyman Mo's meeting with the police chief, people from the prosecutor's office had searched his desk, threatening him with bribery accusations. Taehyun was unfazed, maintaining his innocence, but the situation reminded him of his partner's corruption case 3 years prior. From his superiors, Taehyun learned that Young-won had received the tip about his partner's corruption while they were dating. He finally realized he had misunderstood her. Based on the timeline, Young-won hadn't known about the corruption before they started dating, so there was no reason for her to dig into it, nor had she approached him to expose his partner. He remembered cursing at Young-won's father's memorial tablet, swearing he would always put her first. With this realization, Tae-hyun rushed to find her. At that moment, Young-won saw her superior from the TV station sneaking into a car. The owner of the car was none other than Assemblyman Mo. Tae-hyun arrived, intending to call out to Young-won, but he was too late. She got into her husband's car and drove past him. While Tae-hyun was feeling dejected, his colleague from his hometown sent him a message. Their investigation revealed that on the day the housekeeper was cremated, surveillance cameras nearby had captured footage of the female doctor's car. Tae-hyun immediately went to find her. Meanwhile, Young-won was having dinner with her husband and father-in-law. Just the day before, her father-in-law had also met privately with Assemblyman Mo. It seemed they were discussing something shady. Meanwhile, Tae-hyun investigated the female doctor who was under suspicion. The doctor calmly produced surveillance video footage. The video corroborated her alibi, proving she was elsewhere when the actress was petrified. Subsequent verification confirmed the video's authenticity. While Tae-hyun remained puzzled, someone at the police station reported GMSAE, Woo Yi's high school classmate, as the person who actually petrified the actress. Sure enough, at GMC's house, Tae-hyun found a knife stained with blood. GMSAE admitted to being the actress's lover, but claimed the knife wasn't his. However, the investigation revealed the blood on the knife belonged to the petrified actress, making GMSAE the prime suspect. Young-won contacted Tae-hyun, seeking clues about the case. Tae-hyun invited Young-won to his house. Her husband, Woo Yi, followed her the entire way. After witnessing his wife and Tae-hyun together in the shed, Woo Yi had previously tasked his secretary with investigating Tae-hyun. The investigation unearthed a photo confirming Tae-hyun had once dated Young-won. Seeing the picture shocked Woo Yi. He never imagined the detective in charge of the case was his wife's ex-boyfriend. Inside the house, Tae-hyun informed Young-won about the doctor's alibi and that GMSAE was the prime suspect. As Young-won prepared to leave, Tae-hyun pulled her back, asking in a hesitant tone, "Young-won, why did you lie to me back then?" He had only learned the day before that 3 years ago. Young-won hadn't been investigating him and had genuinely approached him, but after he misunderstood, she never explained. Tae-hyun was heartbroken. If Young-won had clarified, they wouldn't have broken up, and she wouldn't have married another man. Young-won revealed the truth. She lied because Tae-hyun hadn't believed her sincerity at the time. Hurt, she retaliated with a lie to hurt him back. Young-won's words brought Tae-hyun to tears. In truth, he had never forgotten her. As they talked, Woo Yi burst in, finding his wife and her ex-boyfriend in the same room. Jealousy lacing his voice, Woo Yi warned Tae-hyun to stay away from his wife. Angered, Tae-hyun retorted that he wouldn't mind having an affair with Young-won. Seeing them on the verge of a fight, Young-won quickly pulled her husband away. Back home, Woo Yi brought up the past. When he pursued Young-won, she had told him she'd recently broken up with her boyfriend, whom she deeply loved and had wanted to marry. He'd been confident he could make her forget the past, but now he realized the man she truly loved was Tae-hyun. He lost his composure. Woo Yi asked Young-won if she had ever had feelings for him. Her inability to answer confirmed his suspicions. His wife's love for her ex-boyfriend seemed to be rekindling. Looking at the intimate photo of his wife and her former lover, imagining their past intimacy, Woo Yi nearly broke down. He then took all his medication, poured it into the bathtub, and submerged himself in the drug-filled water. The next day, Young-won's superior at the broadcasting station instructed her to write a press release implicating GMSAE as the suspect. Young-won found it strange. Her superior not only knew GMSAE was considered a suspect, but also knew about the impending arrest warrant. He seemed privy to all the information. Recalling seeing her superior getting into Congressman Mo's car the previous day, Young-won grew suspicious, sensing an ulterior motive behind her superior's actions. Young-won's suspicions were entirely justified. Framing GMSAE was precisely what Congressman Mo had ordered. Simultaneously, Tae-hyun, through surveillance, observed the man who reported GMSAE withdrawing money from an ATM and making a phone call. Tae-hyun suspected this man had been coerced into giving false testimony. As expected, he checked the man's cell phone and discovered frequent communication with the actress's brother. Under Tae-hyun's questioning, the man confessed that the actress's brother had indeed instructed him to make the false report. GMSAE was a deliberate scapegoat. Taehyun went to GMC's house again to investigate, but encountered Young-won there, also investigating. Facing his ex-girlfriend, Taehyun disregarded protocol, allowing Young-won to accompany him inside the suspect's house. There, Taehyun realized the knives didn't match the wounds on the actress's abdomen. The medical examiner provided a clue. Besides the fatal wounds, the actress's body bore numerous marks of self-harm. Taehyun deduced that the knife found at GMC's house was likely the one the actress used to harm herself. In other words, GMSAE had been framed. Young-won learned about the knife from Taehyun. She suspected the blood-stained knife came from the actress's own home. Taehyun lacked the evidence to investigate further. Young-won, using her press credentials, went to the actress's villa, where the brother was now living. Feigning an interview, she took advantage of a moment when the brother opened the door to talk to someone else and searched the kitchen. Sure enough, she found a knife missing from the knife block. Young-won quickly snapped a photo. As she left, she noticed a necklace hanging on the shoe rack by the door. Young-won remembered seeing an identical necklace on the backpack of the youngest junior reporter at the broadcasting station. As she walked to the parking lot, she ran into Taehyun. They agreed to meet by the river to talk. Both now suspected the actress's brother was the real culprit. But clearly, a powerful force seemed to be backing him. Taehyun scolded Young-won for going to see the suspect alone. Young-won understood his anger stemmed from concern for her safety. Taehyun reiterated his sincerity. If she ever needed anything, he would help without hesitation. Young-won asked Taehyun if his guilt stemmed from the resolved misunderstanding. She felt his declaration about having an affair with her was merely meant to provoke her husband. Taehyun earnestly expressed his feelings, assuring her of his sincerity. He couldn't control his heart anymore. Young-won remained silent for a long time. In truth, as her husband had surmised, she was indeed experiencing a resurgence of feelings for Taehyun. However, masking her heart, she feigned indifference, telling him to give up on any ideas about her. That evening, Young-won confided in her best friend, expressing her turmoil. She could control her words, but not her thoughts. And towards her husband, pity now overshadowed resentment. Her friend instantly recognized that Young-won's love for her husband had vanished completely. A reporter discovered Soo-rin, Congressman Mo's daughter, frequenting the female doctor's psychiatric clinic. The two seemed to share a close friendship. Seizing the opportunity of a counseling session, Young-won deliberately approached Soo-rin. But faced with the famous reporter, Soo-rin seemed to be trying to conceal her relationship with the doctor. After Soo-rin left, Young-won discovered her husband at the female psychiatrist's clinic. Woo Yi explained that he was there for marriage counseling. To uncover the truth, Young-won proactively joined him for the session. The psychiatrist asked Young-won why she chose the man beside her to marry. Young-won answered honestly, because she once believed he would always protect her. The psychiatrist then condescendingly suggested that Young-won was only interested in marrying into a wealthy family. Woo Yi immediately demanded an apology for his wife. Not only did the psychiatrist refuse to apologize, but she became more aggressive, claiming a long-standing intimate relationship with Woo Yi. Young-won deliberately asked, "Are you saying you had an affair with my husband?" Upon hearing this, Woo Yi vehemently denied it. Young-won used this tactic as a counterattack, implying that the psychiatrist's feelings were one-sided. The psychiatrist suddenly appeared embarrassed. Pressing her advantage, Young-won revealed that the psychiatrist had secretly recorded their counseling session. With that, Young-won decisively left. Woo Yi chased after her. Young-won coldly told him that marrying him was the worst decision of her life. Taehyun had investigated the date of the housekeeper's cremation. An informant who had provided information to Young-won had already fled the country. In other words, someone had deliberately arranged for Young-won to witness the housekeeper's cremation that night. Furthermore, through surveillance footage, Taehyun discovered that the person who had followed him in Muon previously was Assemblyman Hun's aide. Everything seemed to be connected to Assemblyman Mo. Taehyun informed Young-won of all the leads he had uncovered. He wanted to work with her to find the truth before Assemblyman Mo held his press conference. According to Taehyun's investigation, Young-won had written a press release linking Assemblyman Mo to the two cases and identifying him as the actress's financial backer. At the press conference, Assemblyman Mo readily admitted to financially supporting the actress, but claimed it was years ago. He stated that he had provided financial assistance to many underprivileged students when the actress was still in school. In doing so, Assemblyman Hun not only successfully dispelled the negative rumors surrounding himself, but also cultivated a positive reputation. Tae-hyun's investigation revealed that the housekeeper continued to receive monthly payments after the chemical plant fire in Muon. All the victims of the fire were being paid. The person sending the money to the housekeeper was a man. Based on witness descriptions, the police sketched a portrait of this man. Tae-hyun showed it to Young-won. She was shocked to discover that the man in the sketch was Ba Ryun, her junior colleague at the broadcasting station. That night, Young-won found Ba Ryun's residence. Inside, she found walls plastered with posters demanding a meeting with Assemblyman Hun and reporting the fire incident. The chat logs on a nearby computer belonged to her and her informant, Fallen. Young-won now realized that Fallen, the person providing her with clues, was actually Ba Ryun. Meanwhile, the psychiatrist feigned a visit to Young-won, bringing a photo of Young-won's blood-stained sleeve from the night of the actress's cremation. She bluntly admitted her desire for Young-won's husband, even threatening to call Tae-hyun and expose Young-won's suspected actions. Woo Yi snatched the psychiatrist's phone, unafraid to reveal that she had illegally prescribed him medication. He warned her that if she tried to harm his wife, he would be the first to expose her, leading to the revocation of her medical license. Years ago, Woo Yi had suffered from insomnia and resorted to snorting crushed sleeping pills. Since falling in love with Young-won, he had stopped using them, only relapsing after his affair with the actress. For him, Young-won was his reason for living. While zipping up Young-won's dress, Woo Yi suddenly remembered the day before the actress's cremation, when he had helped untangle his wife's necklace from her hair. Connecting this memory, he realized a crucial detail. He then arranged a meeting with the psychiatrist. During their meeting, the psychiatrist repeatedly professed her sincere feelings for him. After she became intoxicated, Woo Yi carried her back to her office and secretly opened her drawer, searching for the USB drive containing the video of his wife's counseling session. The video revealed that the psychiatrist herself had stolen Young-won's necklace. The next morning, the psychiatrist awoke to find her drawer open and the USB drive missing. The psychiatrist laughed maniacally and then sought out Tae-hyun, handing him printed surveillance photos. The images showed Young-won next to the actress's body on the night of the incident. Tae-hyun was startled and cautioned the psychiatrist against releasing the photos to the media. That evening, a troubled Tae-hyun went to the riverbank, where Young-won also arrived. Tae-hyun wanted to ask her about the photos. Young-won spoke first, stating she would soon appear on a program to expose the psychiatrist and explain why she had kept things from Tae-hyun. Hearing this, Tae-hyun didn't press further. In truth, he had always trusted her. Touched by Tae-hyun's unwavering support, Young-won could no longer contain her emotions. Under the quiet night sky, she embraced him from behind and confessed her feelings. Tae-hyun gently turned, wiped away her tears, and kissed the woman he deeply loved. The psychiatrist ran to Woo Yi and forcibly kissed him, only to be pushed away. He suspected she had framed his wife for the actress's death to win him over. Young-won returned home. Woo Yi expressed his faith in her. He had sensed Tae-hyun's pursuit might sway her feelings and admitted it bothered him. But ultimately, he blamed himself for his earlier infidelity and wouldn't reproach her, even if it pained him. Young-won chose to confess her feelings for Tae-hyun. Woo Yi pleaded with her, preferring to believe she was lying rather than face the truth. The investigation continued. Young-won, analyzing the situation with Tae-hyun, suspected the psychiatrist had planted her necklace at the actress's crime scene. She also suspected an accomplice and thought of Assemblyman Mo's daughter, Soo-rin. Young-won visited Soo-rin. During their conversation, she noticed Soo-rin's familiarity with the details of the actress's death, confirming Young-won's suspicions. Tae-hyun located a police officer familiar with the factory fire 3 years prior. The officer revealed the fire was likely accidental, but had been covered up by Assemblyman Mo, then a prosecutor. Both Tae-hyun and Woo Yi believed in Young-won's innocence. To protect the woman they loved, they decided to cooperate. Woo Yi exposed his own bribery, and Tae-hyun used the psychiatrist's illegal prescriptions to arrest her. Once in custody, Tae-hyun interrogated the psychiatrist about the actress's death. She admitted being at the actress's company, one floor above, on the day of the incident. However, she claimed to have left before Wu Yi spoke with the actress. Wu Yi, listening outside the interrogation room, knew she wasn't lying this time. Ti Hyun pressed further. He knew of the psychiatrist's obsessive pursuit of Wu Yi, which had begun over a decade ago in high school. Back then, Wu Yi had been in love with a classmate named Na Rai. Bringing up Na Rai's sudden death, Ti Hyun then mentioned Assemblyman Mo's daughter, Su Rin. He suspected Su Rin's complicity with the actress and pressed the psychiatrist to reveal the truth. The psychiatrist remained stubbornly silent. Ti Hyun was forced to release her. However, his and Young-won's analysis was correct. The psychiatrist had threatened Su Rin with exposing her involvement in the Muon fire, coercing her into harming the actress who knew the truth. Meanwhile, under Assemblyman Mo and Su Rin's orchestration, Young-won was preparing to flee the country. However, the situation took a turn. Her superiors somehow obtained surveillance footage of Young-won at the actress's crime scene and used it to remove Ti Hyun, who had been secretly protecting her. A search of Young-won's home yielded a pair of blood-stained shoes. Consequently, Young-won was arrested and charged. Upon her arrest, the psychiatrist was released. Distraught, Wu Yi sought his father's help, asking him to use his wealth to resolve the situation. His father refused, fearing the scandal could implicate their entire corporation. He advised Wu Yi that the only way to save Young-won was to find the real culprit. Wu Yi immediately instructed his subordinates to locate Assemblyman Mo's daughter. At that moment, the psychiatrist arrived uninvited. Wu Yi, enraged, knew she had orchestrated Young-won's arrest to have him for herself. He threatened to find Assemblyman Mo's daughter. Unfazed, the psychiatrist boasted she could cover her tracks even if he did. Realizing the psychiatrist's machinations, Wu Yi swallowed his pride and promised to do anything she asked if she helped Young-won. The psychiatrist demanded he divorce Young-won and marry her. To save his wife, Wu Yi agreed. The psychiatrist contacted Su Rin. To avoid suspicion, Su Rin was planning to leave the country. The psychiatrist gifted her a watch and asked her to plant the murder weapon in Young-won's father's ashes, claiming the police needed the weapon to solidify Young-won's guilt. Su Rin, who had relied on the psychiatrist for emotional support since high school, readily agreed. Wu Yi prepared the divorce papers and a marriage application for the psychiatrist. That night, the psychiatrist eagerly went to Young-won's house and bathed in her tub. She was overjoyed to see the divorce agreement. She had worked for years to secure him. Wu Yi asked her to change and leave. She defied him, staying the night and even preparing a birthday cake for herself, hoping for a romantic evening. For Young-won's sake, Wu Yi forced himself to interact with her, but halfway through, thoughts of his wife made him stop. The psychiatrist, rejected once again, slapped him twice and retreated to a room to cry. Meanwhile, despite being removed from the case, Ti Hyun remained active. To save Young-won, he asked a colleague to leak information about the investigation's progress. His colleague warned him that further involvement could cost him his badge. Ti Hyun, willing to risk everything for Young-won, disregarded the warning. Young-won's superiors interrogated her, urging a confession. She maintained her innocence. In jail, she reflected on her journalism career and her dreams, despair overwhelming her to the point of contemplating suicide. Ti Hyun received a message from Wu Yi. Feigning a bathroom break, he evaded his monitoring colleague and escaped the police station. Meanwhile, the superiors deduced that the murder weapon might be hidden in Young-won's father's urn. They searched and found a knife coated in what appeared to be blood. Suddenly, Ti Hyun appeared with new evidence, a video showing Su Rin planting the knife in the urn. It turned out that Ti Hyun's escape from the police station was a pre-arranged plan with Wu Yi. The female doctor, pretending to ask Su Rin to hide the knife, had actually instructed Wu Yi to install a surveillance camera near the house beforehand. Therefore, Ti Hyun witnessed the entire process of Su Rin hiding the knife and obtained the evidence. Ti Hyun was able to smoothly return to the force. Later, at the airport, Su Rin, attempting to flee, was arrested on suspicion of committing the crimes. After Su Rin's arrest, Ti Hyun visited the detained Young-won. Young-won, still terrified, repeatedly insisted to Ti Hyun that she wasn't the killer. Ti Hyun gently held Young-won's hand, whispered comforting words, and informed her of her release. Before leaving the police station, Taehyun gave Youngwon a piece of candy and promised to punish the female doctor who aided the perpetrator and put them behind bars. Youngwon thanked Taehyun. If he hadn't saved her in time, she might have truly chosen a desperate path. After a moment of hesitation, Taehyun revealed that Woo Yi had helped her. As she stepped out of the police station, a throng of reporters surrounded Youngwon. She revealed the truth bit by bit, including why she was present at the scene of the actress's fire and the reason she fled despite being innocent. Woo Yi waited for Youngwon in the crowd. After she emerged, he embraced her, saying, "You've been through so much." Like Taehyun, Woo Yi felt immense guilt towards Youngwon. Youngwon fell asleep in the car on the way home. Woo Yi carefully unbuckled her seatbelt and gently touched her cheek with a worried expression. He told her to go to her room and sleep well, but then he heard her call out Taehyun's name in her sleep. At that moment, Woo Yi realized he had lost his beloved wife forever. Meanwhile, Soo Rin, Assemblyman Mo's daughter, was arrested at her home. The police found a diary at her house, which chronicled the story of Soo Rin and the female doctor over many years. It turned out everything started during their high school days in Muon. Soo Rin and the female doctor were best friends. Back then, to win Woo Yi's affections, the female doctor didn't hesitate to instigate Soo Rin to set fire to a factory, targeting Woo Yi's first love, a classmate named Na Rai. Soo Rin wrote about setting the fire in her diary, but years later, a housekeeper accidentally discovered it. To retrieve the diary, Soo Rin didn't hesitate to set the housekeeper on fire. The actress's death was also instigated by the female doctor. Taehyun demanded Soo Rin confess to her crimes. Overwhelmed with agitation, Soo Rin nearly fainted, and the interrogation had to be suspended. That very night, the female doctor sought out Soo Rin's father, Assemblyman Mo. Assemblyman Mo had presidential ambitions and couldn't afford any scandals. Exploiting this, the female doctor demanded he fill her suitcase with cash in exchange for her silence about her complicity in Soo Rin's crimes. With the investigation stalled, Youngwon contacted her superior at the television station. She remembered her superior mentioning unfavorable rumors about Assemblyman Mo. The superior revealed the truth. Years ago, Assemblyman Mo's wife had fallen down the stairs and become comatose. At the time, there were suspicions that Assemblyman Mo was responsible. With Soo Rin's arrest, reporters flocked to interview Assemblyman Mo. Youngwon also arrived at the scene. To her surprise, Assemblyman Mo produced a recording of a conversation between his daughter, Soo Rin, and the female doctor, discussing the murder of the housekeeper. With this recording, Assemblyman Mo exposed the female doctor's complicity in his daughter's crimes to the media and admitted he had been trying to protect his daughter, which was why he had concealed it. According to Assemblyman Mo, it was his daughter who pushed his wife down the stairs. The female doctor, present at the house at the time, witnessed the incident. Furthermore, Assemblyman Mo revealed a scar on his stomach, claiming it was also inflicted by the female doctor. Watching the news interview, the female doctor nearly went mad. She understood clearly that Assemblyman Mo was sacrificing a pawn to save the game, protecting his political future. He didn't hesitate to throw his own daughter under the bus. Assemblyman Mo didn't deny it, instead warning the female doctor, her good days are over. Thinking of losing everything, the female doctor walked into a lake, contemplating ending it all. She thought of the man she loved deeply, yet could never have. At the same time, Taehyun showed Soo Rin the news of her father's betrayal, telling her she had been deceived by her closest friend. Soo Rin couldn't believe it, and neither could Taehyun have anticipated this outcome. Meanwhile, Youngwon returned home and was attacked from behind with a syringe, losing consciousness. Her attacker was the female doctor, still unwilling to accept defeat. She then sent a text message to Woo Yi, instructing him to meet her alone at a specified location. Knowing Youngwon was in danger, Woo Yi was frantic. Simultaneously, the police issued an arrest warrant for the female doctor. Taehyun, upon receiving the news, worried about Youngwon's safety. He rushed to her house, finding the door locked and Woo Yi absent, increasing his anxiety. He began searching for her. At that moment, Youngwon had been taken by the female doctor to the top floor of an abandoned building. The female doctor tied herself and Youngwon together with a rope. If she fell, Youngwon would perish with her. The female doctor even set a timer for their demise 15 minutes, admitting this was a habit from the chemical factory fire years ago. The female doctor had committed her first crime in a moment of impulse. After committing the crime, she adjusted the victim's watch. She repeated this act of adjusting the watch during the housekeeper's murder. This ritual made her feel like a god, able to stop someone's time and control life and death. She did the same with the actress. Now, the female doctor declared, if she couldn't have him, she would make Wu Yi remember her every second of every day. Wu Yi rushed to the scene. He desperately promised the female doctor anything if she released Young Won. But at this point, the female doctor no longer believed his lies. She turned to Young Won and revealed the truth. She wanted to leave her mark on the thing she loved most. Young Won was shocked by this confession. The female doctor then pulled on the rope, intending to die with Young Won. Fortunately, Taehyun arrived just in time. The female doctor, reckless and desperate, jumped. Taehyun grabbed her as she fell, but she was beyond reason and ultimately plunged to her death. With the instigator dead and Assemblyman Mo's daughter imprisoned for her direct involvement in the crimes, the case concluded. Taehyun was filled with unresolved emotions, unable to let go. Young Won was also troubled, thinking about the female doctor's last words. She couldn't understand what the female doctor meant by the thing she loved most. Seeking answers, Young Won searched her house and found divorce papers prepared by her husband. It turned out Wu Yi had been willing to sacrifice his marriage to save her from the female doctor. Reflecting on recent events, Young Won finally filed for divorce. She wanted a fresh start. After filing, she moved out, staying temporarily with a female colleague. In addition to her broken marriage, Young Won's career was now in jeopardy due to her arrest and the suspicion surrounding her. Her program was permanently cancelled. Young Won was also expelled from the Journalist Association, a consequence her colleagues understood. She was staying at her colleague's house out of fear that being alone would drive her to seek out Taehyun. Meanwhile, Taehyun was also thinking about Young Won. She hadn't contacted him since the case ended, leaving him feeling uneasy. After days of waiting, Young Won finally called. Taehyun, overjoyed, immediately asked her to meet. When they saw each other, Young Won asked for the video the female doctor had secretly recorded during her therapy session. Taehyun readily agreed. He also inquired about her future plans. Young Won knew Taehyun was waiting for her divorce. This time, she chose to be upfront, telling him she had already filed the papers. Taehyun was elated and eager to solidify their relationship. Meanwhile, Soo-rin, Assemblyman Mo's daughter, remained silent since her arrest. She refused to confess, claiming her father was the mastermind behind everything. She even revealed a secret to Taehyun. After setting the Musin chemical factory fire and supposedly killing Na Rai, she witnessed Na Rai escaping through a back exit. Taehyun was stunned. If Soo-rin was telling the truth, it meant Na Rai could still be alive. Knowing her dismissal was imminent, Young Won preemptively resigned from her job. She then visited her father-in-law to inform him of her divorce decision, promising not to contest it or seek any alimony. However, upon leaving her in-law's house, Young Won nearly collapsed. Witnessing this, Wu Yi took her to the hospital, where they discovered she was pregnant. Young Won was shocked by the news. Wu Yi tried to use the pregnancy to persuade her against the divorce. Young Won remained resolute, insisting their relationship was over. If he refused to sign the papers, she would break her promise to his father and proceed with the divorce filing. However, upon returning to her colleague's place, Young Won broke down, unsure of what to do. She wanted to be with Taehyun, but the pregnancy complicated everything. She didn't know if she could keep her promise to him. Taehyun learned that Na Rai's body had been too badly damaged in the factory fire for DNA testing. His colleagues also discovered Na Rai had a younger brother, reporter Ba Ryun, the same young reporter who had provided Young Won with information. Taehyun wanted to tell Young Won the news, but she wasn't answering her phone, so he went directly to her colleague's house. When they met, he gave her the therapy video and told her about Na Rai and Ba Ryun's connection. Young Won, in a daze, still didn't tell him about the pregnancy. Young Won went to a prenatal checkup alone, torn between terminating the pregnancy and keeping the child. After the checkup, she watched the therapy video. In it, the female doctor mentioned a novel written by Wu Yi, a book Young Won loved. This triggered a memory, and Young Won rushed back to retrieve the novel, finding a memory card hidden in the last page. The video on the card showed that after Su Rin attacked the actress, she wasn't immediately killed. Another, mysterious man then interacted with the actress, ultimately causing her death. Young-won recognized the pattern on the mysterious man's knife sheath. It was identical to the one used by the person who set her father on fire. In other words, the man who killed the actress was likely the same person who killed her father. Lost in thought, her husband entered the room. The shirt he was wearing was identical to the one worn by the mysterious man in the video. It was the anniversary of Young-won's father's death. She excused herself, asking Woo Yi to buy a cake her father used to enjoy. She then used the opportunity to search his car for clues. The car's navigation history showed he had been in Muon that night. At the entrance, Young-won noticed her husband Woo Yi's shoes were covered in mud. Woo Yi had brought cake. The couple had simply visited Young-won's father's house at night. Young-won dreamt her father was cremated. The cremator in her dream was Woo Yi. After waking up, Young-won was pale. She couldn't be sure if Woo Yi, the man who loved her deeply, was the one who had cremated her father. Taehyun came to see Young-won. He had been investigating in Muon for several days and had found a clue. He'd heard that a woman residing illegally in Muon had recently disappeared. This woman had previously worked at the chemical plant where the accident occurred. Taehyun suspected this woman was Na Rai, the one who escaped the chemical plant fire. Dong Thun, upon hearing this news, was also distraught. She was still hesitant to tell Taehyun that she was pregnant. After meeting with Young-won, Taehyun returned to Muon. An informant provided a picture of the missing woman. Her appearance and build were said to be very similar to Na Rai's. Putting all the clues together, Taehyun speculated that Na Rai, after escaping the factory, might have inhaled toxic fumes and collapsed on the road. A police officer also revealed to Taehyun that the area near the burned-down chemical plant was about to be developed into a resort. Woo Yi's family's corporation was in charge of the development. During his stay in Muon, Taehyun noticed the bus stop where he and Young-won used to take shelter from the rain. He took a picture and sent it to Young-won. But after a moment of hesitation, she didn't reply. Young-won left a note at reporter Ba Ryun's place, stating that after the fire, his sister Na Rai might have escaped. After seeing the note, Ba Ryun contacted Young-won to meet. He couldn't understand why his sister was still alive and why she hadn't contacted him for years. Young-won speculated that Na Rai might have died somewhere else after escaping. Young-won also asked Ba Ryun why he approached her using a false identity. Ba Ryun told her the whole story. It turned out that after Na Rai's accident years ago, Young-won's father had visited Ba Ryun's house to interview him. Ba Ryun overheard Young-won's father talking on the phone, referring to the person on the other end as the one who cremated Na Rai. Later, Young-won's father was cremated. Ba Ryun concluded that the person who cremated Young-won's father to silence him was the same person who cremated his sister. Young-won wanted to know who her father was talking to on the phone back then, but Ba Ryun wouldn't reveal any more. Meanwhile, Woo Yi told his father about Young-won's pregnancy. He swore to forget the past and start over. His father was very pleased and even put him in charge of the resort development in Muon. After promising his father, Woo Yi resolutely burned a photo of himself with Na Rai and a record Na Rai had given him as a sign of his commitment. He even went to a bookstore to buy books on fatherhood. Now, he only wanted to look forward. After returning home, he affectionately stroked the ultrasound picture. Young-won also told her husband about her decision. When her father was cremated, she had gone abroad to find her mother. But her only living relative didn't care about the daughter who had lost her family. Young-won had experienced profound loneliness and always longed for a family. So she decided to have the baby, but she made it clear that having the child and divorcing her husband were two separate matters. Woo Yi decided to compromise. He hoped Young-won wouldn't divorce him before the baby was born. He didn't want the child to be born without a father. Young-won silently agreed. At this time, Taehyun called. After hesitating, Young-won didn't answer. Witnessing his wife's actions, Woo Yi secretly went to see Taehyun. Unaware of the situation, Taehyun said he would never let Young-won go. Woo Yi told him that Young-won was pregnant and was postponing the divorce, asking Taehyun not to bother his wife anymore. Devastated, Taehyun contacted Young-won and met with her. Without waiting for her to speak, he confessed his love. Even if she was pregnant, he could endure it, he could wait. He just wanted her not to push him away. Young Won spoke heartless words, telling him to forget about her and not to contact her again. She was a mother now, and she could only put her child first. After parting ways, Taehyun wept in his car. He drank at a bar and confided in his close friend. Taehyun had only cried 3 times in his life. The first time was when his mother died. The second when his partner died and Young Won broke up with him. This was the 3rd time. His friend advised him to give up on hopeless desires, as having a child or not was a significant factor in a marriage. At this point, the Muon police sent over the recording of the emergency call from years ago. The recording indicated someone calling about their friend being injured and unconscious near the chemical plant where the accident occurred. Councilman Mo also had this recording. After listening to it, he smiled sinisterly. He then went to see Young Won's father-in-law, the chairman of the corporation, who was working with lawmakers to push forward the resort development in Muon. In front of his father-in-law, Councilman Mo mentioned the recording, implying that the voice was very familiar to him, seemingly attempting to use this as leverage. In reality, after the chemical plant incident years ago, Councilman Mo had noticed signs of a collision on Young Won's father-in-law's car, even ketchup stains on the windshield. Young Won was also investigating her father's cremation and thought about the timing of her husband's study abroad trip. It had been exactly 1 month after her father's death, raising her suspicions. To confirm her husband's alibi, Young Won visited Soo Rin, Councilman Mo's daughter, in jail for the first time. Everything that happened that year was recorded in Soo Rin's diary. Young Won asked Taehyun's colleague for help. The colleague checked Soo Rin's diary at the police station and found an entry from the day of the fire at the chemical plant. It confirmed Woo Yi had been at a hospital in Seoul. That evening, Young Won's father-in-law obtained Taehyun's recording and told his son. This made Woo Yi very uneasy and brought back memories of what had happened. It turned out that on the night of the fire, Na Rai had escaped the factory. Woo Yi, driving by, had accidentally hit her. This was over 10 years ago, when Woo Yi was still in high school. He had confessed his feelings to Na Rai, and they had dated until Christmas Eve. That night, he drove his father's car to pick up Na Rai for their date. The person who died was his girlfriend, Na Rai. In despair, Woo Yi called the police and put Na Rai in the car. His father called, and a distraught Woo Yi told him about the accident. After confirming that Na Rai was no longer breathing, his father instructed him to do exactly as he said. This was the beginning of the tragedy. Back home, he recounted the story to his father. While having an affair with the actress, Woo Yi had unconsciously called out Na Rai's name in his sleep. The actress, noticing his actions, called and threatened him, trying to use this as leverage to make him leave Young Won and date her. This happened before the actress was cremated and was the true content of the last phone call. His father comforted him, saying as long as Na Rai's body wasn't found, no one could do anything to them. Woo Yi gave a cold smile, unwavering. To stay with Young Won for their unborn child, he planned to keep this secret hidden. Young Won was paying respects to her deceased father. For her unborn child, she was determined to find out who cremated her father, praying it wasn't her husband. At this time, her father-in-law's corporation released news of Young Won's pregnancy. She contacted her husband after reading it and told him to remove the news. Woo Yi immediately spoke to his father, promising to put all his effort into the resort project, hoping his father wouldn't harm Young Won. Despite the state of their marriage, Woo Yi's love for Young Won had never changed. His father agreed and then went to meet Councilman Mo. Councilman Mo, holding the recording of the car accident, threatened Young Won's father-in-law, wanting more benefits from the resort project. Unafraid, the chairman had prepared for this, planning to blame the accident on their deceased driver. He hadn't expected the councilman to have another card up his sleeve. It turned out that after the car accident, Councilman Mo had been aware of it and secretly kept a shard of glass from the involved vehicle. Analyzing the ketchup stain on it would reveal the true culprit. Now, Young Won's father-in-law was in a bind. Taehyun was also listening to the recording of the old emergency call repeatedly. He suspected the voice belonged to Woo Yi, deducing that Woo Yi was responsible for the accident. Taehyun knew that to solve the case and protect Young Won, he had to find Na Rai's body. Also searching for Na Rai's body was reporter Ba Ryun, Na Rai's brother, from Young Won's team. A few days ago, Ba Rian had gone to Muan to attend the memorial service for the chemical plant fire victims. Unexpectedly, he saw Wu Yi at the site. Ba Rian followed him up the mountain and saw him crying, pouring a carton of milk onto a patch of ground. Ba Rian suspected his sister might be buried there. So, after Wu Yi left, Ba Rian dug alone on the mountain. He eventually unearthed a skeleton. Ba Rian knew it was his missing sister, Na Rai. As he wept, a mysterious man attacked him from behind. Overpowered, Ba Rian was cremated. 2 patrolling officers happened to pass by, and the mysterious man fled. Ba Rian's body was discovered. The police in charge of the case notified Ti Hyun, who went to the mountain. Seeing the strangulation marks on Ba Rian's neck, Ti Hyun believed this was a serious crime. That night, Young-won went to the beach alone, a place filled with memories of her and Ti Hyun. Although she had told him harshly not to see her again, she couldn't let go of her feelings. Ti Hyun felt the same. A respected senior colleague advised him to give up on Young-won, but he couldn't. Leaving the beach, Young-won happened to drive near the crime scene. The moment she saw Ba Rian's tragic body, she burst into tears. Over the years, she and Ba Rian had become like siblings. Ti Hyun's investigation revealed that Wu Yi was currently in Muan, raising his suspicions. He wondered if Wu Yi had cremated Ba Rian. Soon, the skeleton on the mountain was identified as Na Rai. Ti Hyun told Young-won about his findings. She went to the hotel to see her husband. She wanted to know if Wu Yi had an alibi for the time of Ba Rian's murder. Wu Yi denied any involvement. Young-won checked the hotel's surveillance footage, confirming his alibi. Young-won then said she wanted to ask him a few questions, hoping he wouldn't lie. Wu Yi agreed. She showed him a video secretly recorded by the female doctor. The video showed Councilman Mo's daughter assaulting the actress and leaving. The person who cremated the actress was a masked man. Young-won wanted to know if Wu Yi was the mysterious killer in the video. He denied it. Recalling her father's cremation years ago, she had seen the killer, and the pattern on his knife handle was identical to the one on the masked man's. Young-won asked her husband where he was when her father was cremated over 10 years ago. He answered honestly that he had been in a psychiatric hospital in Seoul because he couldn't control his self-harm. To convince Young-won of his innocence, Wu Yi called the head of the department. After confirming her husband wasn't lying, Young-won opened up about her feelings. She confessed that the thought of her husband being the one who cremated her father was unbearable. More than anyone, she knew it would be devastating for her and her unborn child. Wu Yi decided to visit the site where Ba Rian had been cremated, accompanied by Young-won and Ti Hyun. After arriving at the scene, the 3 went to a nearby outpost. Wu Yi, feeling guilty because he had visited the mountain the previous day, before the incident, to pay his respects to Na Rai, wondered if he had been caught on surveillance cameras. Coincidentally, the surveillance system was malfunctioning, to Wu Yi's relief. The 3 then proceeded to the mountain where the incident occurred. Young-won was puzzled as to how Ba Rian had discovered Na Rai's remains so quickly. Ti Hyun once again questioned Wu Yi, wanting to know if he had met Na Rai on Christmas Eve years ago. Wu Yi smoothly lied, saying he had seen Na Rai, but only to give her a ride to her factory, after which they parted ways. Ti Hyun wanted to press further, but glancing at Young-won, he stopped. If Wu Yi was the culprit, he didn't want to reveal this devastating truth in front of her. On their way down the mountain, Young-won sprained her ankle. Ti Hyun turned back to help, but Wu Yi was quicker to support his wife. Witnessing another man's concern for Young-won made Ti Hyun deeply uncomfortable. After reaching the foot of the mountain, Young-won went to the restroom. Ti Hyun seized this opportunity to confront Wu Yi for the 3rd time. He played the recording of the police report on his phone. Wu Yi, well prepared, claimed the driver was a hired chauffeur. The victim was an old classmate, and the classmate's injuries were minor. As Wu Yi smugly delivered his explanation, Ti Hyun revealed surveillance footage showing Wu Yi passing the outpost near the mountain on the day of the incident. Ti Hyun had retrieved the footage the previous night. He suspected Ba Rian had discovered Na Rai's remains because he was following Wu Yi. Wu Yi still refused to confess. Ti Hyun declared that for Young-won's sake, he would investigate to the very end. After the 3 returned, Young-won shared details about the knife sheath found with her cremated father with Ti Hyun. She suspected the mysterious man carried a unique knife sheath. connecting him to both her father's and the actress's cremation. This reminded Tae-hyun of a former detective colleague who had resigned and was now working as a secretary at Young-won's father-in-law's house. Tae-hyun recalled seeing a distinctive pattern on the senior detective's knife sheath. The wealthy heiress, investigating her father's cremation, discovered the enemy might be her own father-in-law, and her loving husband also seemed to be involved. The previous day, Young-won had shown Woo-yi the video secretly recorded by the female doctor. The video showed that after Congressman Mo's daughter's interaction, the real person who cremated the actress was a mysterious man in black carrying a knife with a distinctive pattern. Woo-yi recognized the mysterious man in the video as his family secretary. Woo-yi suspected his chairman father had instigated the secretary to commit the crimes. His father recounted the story. The day before the incident, the actress had approached him, using the secret of Woo-yi cremating Na-rai as leverage to persuade him to accept her as his daughter-in-law, promising to protect his son. This prompted the chairman to order the secretary to eliminate her. Woo-yi then questioned his father about his deceased father-in-law, asking if his father had also ordered his cremation. His father remained silent. A phone call with his son later revealed the truth to Woo-yi. He scolded the secretary and demanded he clean up the mess as quickly as possible, specifically instructing him to delete the surveillance footage from Mount Muon so the police wouldn't discover Woo-yi's presence there. Following the chairman's orders, the secretary invited Woo-yi to a resort development meeting. Woo-yi, using his wife's injured ankle as an excuse, flatly refused. He couldn't bear to have his beloved wife face her father's cremator. Tae-hyun also suspected the secretary. The secretary was a senior police officer with whom Tae-hyun had a good relationship. The identical knife sheath deepened Tae-hyun's suspicions. Reviewing the date of Young-won's father's cremation, Tae-hyun realized he had dined with the secretary that very day years ago. The secretary had been wearing a black suit, the same outfit as the killer in the video. The knife sheath and the black suit convinced Tae-hyun this was no coincidence. Years ago, Tae-hyun's senior colleague had applied to and joined the police academy, and they had developed a close mentor-mentee relationship. This connection made Tae-hyun hesitate. Could he investigate objectively if his former mentor was involved? While Tae-hyun wrestled with his dilemma, Woo-yi also suffered. After returning home and confronting his father, he learned the devastating truth. Years ago, Muon, slated for resort development, was suspected of government business collusion. Young-won's father, a journalist determined to investigate, followed Woo-yi's father's car to Muon. Unbeknownst to him, Woo-yi was driving that night and Young-won's father witnessed a hit-and-run incident. To silence him, Woo-yi's father ordered the secretary to eliminate him. The truth devastated Woo-yi. He could ignore his father's involvement in the actress's and Ba Ryun's cremation, but he couldn't overlook the truth about Young-won's father, the woman he deeply loved. His father's words, "You're about to become a father. If you don't want your child to be the descendant of a murderer, you need to be ruthless," shocked Woo-yi, who then turned and left. Back home, Woo-yi drank heavily, staring at his wedding photos and weeping. Had he known their ill-fated connection, he would have never met or fallen in love with Young-won. Meanwhile, Young-won actively investigated her father's and Ba Ryun's cremations, going to the police station for case files. Tae-hyun tried to stop her, wanting to shield her from the horrific truth. On the rooftop of the police station, Tae-hyun confessed his love again, urging Young-won to divorce immediately, unable to bear her being with another man. Young-won didn't respond. Tae-hyun vowed to pull her out of the abyss. Young-won obtained reporter Ba Ryun's notebook, which detailed her father's visit to the Muon chemical plant years ago to gather information. Realizing this could be connected to her father's death, she questioned the broadcasting station director. The director revealed her father's true purpose in visiting Muon was to investigate the resort development, suspecting corruption. The chemical plant occupied prime real estate. However, a fire swiftly destroyed it, paving the way for the resort development and boosting the value of Young-won's father-in-law's construction company. The director also mentioned the resort project was a collaboration between her father-in-law and Congressman Mo, both using illegal means for financial gain. This made Young-won suspect her father's investigation had uncovered crucial information, leading to his demise. She suspected her father-in-law or Congressman Mo was responsible. Back home, Young-won found her father's diary, which contained entries about the resort development. Her father-in-law summoned her, then pressured her to move back home, citing her pregnancy. Hoping to find clues about her father's death, Young-won agreed to move in the following day. Tae-hyun, glancing at the secretary, decided to move in with Young-won, refusing to let her face her father's killer alone. With the director's help, Young-won contacted a female reporter who had collaborated with her father. The reporter revealed that after the Muon chemical plant fire, a traffic collision involving a cargo truck near the plant blocked fire trucks, leading to the plant's complete destruction. The truck driver died, and the reporter suspected the collision was deliberate, aimed at eliminating the plant. Armed with this information, Young-won moved into her in-law's house. She attempted to search her father-in-law's office, but he, aware of her intentions, warned her to behave. Meanwhile, Tae-hyun, driven by his love for Young-won, pursued the truth. Based on Na-rae's autopsy report and the new clues, he deduced Woo-yi caused the car accident and the secretary disposed of the body. Remembering the secretary had a terminally ill sister, Tae-hyun suspected the secretary worked for the chairman to cover her medical expenses. He visited the sister, who confirmed her brother had found a new sponsor for her treatment, validating Tae-hyun's suspicion. Days later, someone claiming responsibility for Ba Ryun's death confessed to the police. Tae-hyun knew this was a scapegoat offered by Young-won's father-in-law to protect the secretary. That evening, Tae-hyun confronted the secretary by the river, presenting his evidence and urging him to confess. The secretary refused. Tae-hyun searched him, and after a struggle, found the distinctive knife, proving his guilt. But after a moment, the secretary suddenly grabbed a knife and attacked Tae-hyun, whom he had treated like a younger brother. Young-won received a call and rushed to the hospital. Woo-yi secretly followed her, only to witness his beloved wife in a seemingly romantic interaction with another man. The previous night, Tae-hyun had gone to interrogate the secretary. After prior investigations, Tae-hyun had confirmed that the secretary was the serial killer in multiple cases. But during a struggle, the secretary stabbed Tae-hyun. To prevent the killer's escape, Tae-hyun also attacked the secretary, despite being seriously wounded. Police sirens wailed. The injured secretary fled. Arriving colleagues called an ambulance for Tae-hyun. Hovering between life and death, Tae-hyun's thoughts drifted to Young-won. Meanwhile, Young-won was investigating the truth. She discovered that years ago, in addition to Na-rae's car accident near the Muon chemical plant, there had been another serious traffic incident. The driver responsible for that accident had died in prison after being convicted. Young-won visited the driver's mother. The mother harbored doubts about her son's accident because, before it occurred, her outstanding medical bills had been paid in full. She had also seen a stranger visiting her son multiple times. Young-won looked through the driver's belongings and found the secretary's business card. The moment she saw the card, Young-won also remembered the attacker's face from before she lost consciousness. It was the secretary. By now, after being attacked by Tae-hyun, the secretary had fled into the woods and called Young-won's father-in-law, informing him that Tae-hyun knew the truth and promising to take all the blame, as agreed. Young-won returned home and questioned her father-in-law. He answered smoothly. According to him, Young-won's father had been ill that year, and he hadn't known the secretary then. Later, Councilman Mo had introduced the secretary to him. Lacking evidence, Young-won couldn't accuse her father-in-law, but she vowed to uncover the truth, even if only for her unborn child. In reality, Woo-yi knew the truth about the incident, having helped his father cover it up, and felt immense guilt. His father reminded him that in this world, people are either stepped on or do the stepping. He should think more about his soon-to-be-born child. The next day, Young-won tried to contact Tae-hyun, but his colleague answered the phone. After learning that Tae-hyun was seriously injured and hospitalized, Young-won panicked and rushed to the hospital. Fortunately, the surgery was successful, and Tae-hyun was safe. Witnessing this, Young-won couldn't help but cry. She had lost too many important people. If Tae-hyun were gone too, she truly couldn't forgive herself. Tae-hyun gently promised never to leave Young-won alone because she was the most important person in his life. The two discussed the case. Tae-hyun comforted Young-won, explaining he had placed a tracking device on the secretary's clothing. He couldn't escape. Indeed, his colleagues quickly located and apprehended the secretary. Tae-hyun, refusing rest, rushed back to interrogate him. Young-won listened from outside. During the interrogation, the secretary took all the blame. He lied, claiming responsibility for Na Rai's death and the murders of her brother and Young-won's father, insisting that Wu Yi and his father were not involved. The secretary's words were airtight, leaving Tae-hyun struggling to find a breakthrough. After the interrogation, the secretary apologized to Tae-hyun. Tae-hyun refused to forgive the former senior colleague he had once respected, the very person who had brought misfortune upon the woman he loved. The secretary also apologized to Young-won, who was equally unwilling to forgive the man who had murdered her father. After calming down, Young-won shared her recent findings with Tae-hyun. She suspected the secretary had committed the murders under the direction of either her father-in-law or Councilman Mo. Tae-hyun also revealed his suspicion to Young-won. He believed Wu Yi, not the secretary, was the one who hit Na Rai. Back home, Young-won confronted her husband. She pleaded with Wu Yi to reveal the whole truth, but he remained silent. He still didn't know how to minimize the damage. However, Wu Yi agreed to Young-won's earlier request for a divorce. He had overheard her heartfelt conversation with Tae-hyun at the hospital. At this point, for Young-won's sake, Wu Yi chose to let her go. Meanwhile, Councilman Mo had won the election and become president. His successful elimination of his rivals was thanks to the backing of Young-won's father-in-law. Years ago, Councilman Mo had hidden a shard of glass from Na Rai's car, stained with ketchup and capable of proving Wu Yi's involvement in the accident, in exchange for electoral success. He now returned the shard to the father-in-law. The father-in-law knew that Councilman Mo's cooperation was superficial, and that he actually wanted to control him. He issued a veiled threat, reminding the president that years ago, during the development of the Muon Resort project, the secretary had still been working for Councilman Mo. To completely dismantle the chemical plant, Mo had arranged for the secretary to bribe the driver who caused the car accident to block the fire trucks. The father-in-law had falsified the investigation records for him. He presented this as a warning, telling the president to stay in line. They were in this together and couldn't betray each other. But Councilman Mo didn't see it that way. To ensure the tycoon's continued financial support, he arranged a meeting with Young-won. During their conversation, he revealed something crucial. Years ago, before her father's illness, he had met with Councilman Mo and claimed to have evidence of Wu Yi and his father's crimes. Meanwhile, while searching the secretary's house, Tae-hyun found a camera belonging to Young-won's father. Unfortunately, the memory card was missing. Combining this with Councilman Mo's words, Young-won guessed her father might have hidden the card's contents elsewhere. After consulting the broadcasting director, she accessed her father's backup website. After several attempts, she successfully logged in. There, she found a video, Wu Yi hitting Na Rai with his car. Seeing the footage, Young-won was devastated. She had always suspected Councilman Mo or her father-in-law, never imagining her husband was at the root of everything. Tae-hyun also secretly met with Wu Yi. He had initially believed Wu Yi's feelings for Young-won were merely an obsession. However, after witnessing Wu Yi's meticulous care for her, Tae-hyun realized Wu Yi loved Young-won just as deeply as he did. He now wanted Wu Yi to face the truth and his mistakes. It was the only way to free Young-won from her pain. Young-won then arranged to meet her husband at the beach where they first met. At this memory-filled location, with tears in her eyes, Young-won revealed everything she knew about his crimes. She then knelt before Wu Yi and sobbed. Witnessing his beloved's tears, Wu Yi also wept. Under her questioning, he confessed, recounting how his father had covered up Na Rai's accident. Confessing brought Wu Yi relief. As Tae-hyun had said, he no longer wanted to cause Young-won pain. Before turning himself in, he wanted to do one last thing for his wife. The next day was the awards ceremony for his father's conglomerate, which had won the Best Corporation Award. Wu Yi took the stage to accept the award in his father's place. But after accepting the award, Wu Yi confessed to his crime years ago and revealed his father's role in covering it up. He explained that after he caused the accident, his father had disposed of the body in the mountains. Tae-hyun arrived at the scene to make the arrest. As Wu Yi confessed at the police station, Tae-hyun expressed his concern. Wu Yi had a history of mental health diagnosis. He worried Wu Yi's father would use this as a pretext, claiming his son's confession was due to mental illness. Wu Yi revealed he had obtained compelling evidence of his father's guilt. A few days prior, he had witnessed his father smashing a piece of car glass. He discreetly collected the shards and discovered ketchup stains. He realized they were from the car involved in the accident. Wu Yi secretly gave the shards to Ti-hyun. DNA and fingerprint analysis would be enough to bring his father to justice. Since Wu Yi's confession, his father had been hounded by the media. Councilman Mo, his father's accomplice, was also in trouble. Ti-hyun relayed a message to Young-won that Wu Yi wanted to speak to her personally. Young-won visited her husband in jail. He sincerely urged her to use the power of the media to expose his father's crimes. Young-won agreed. She then met with the broadcasting director, submitting all the evidence against her father-in-law, including a recording Wu Yi had secretly made of their conversation. In it, his father had practically admitted to covering up Young-won's gilded or covered-up death. Furthermore, the results of the glass shard analysis had arrived, confirming the presence of Na-Rai's ketchup and matching the car to Young-won's father-in-law. Thus, after a long absence, Young-won returned to the airwaves, calmly recounting her father-in-law's crimes. As the program aired, a warrant was issued for Wu Yi's arrest. Seeing his wife emerge from the metaphorical fog on television, Wu Yi felt a sense of relief. The dark chapter was finally closing. After Young-won's broadcast, her father-in-law and Councilman Mo were thrust into the spotlight, facing public outrage. The councilman denied the accusations, but a former civil servant exposed his crimes. Things were unfolding exactly as Young-won had hoped. A few days later, Young-won visited Wu Yi in prison. He smiled with relief. In his pursuit of her love, he had repeatedly plunged himself into the abyss, unknowingly clipping the wings of the person he loved most. Wu Yi told Young-won he had left the divorce papers at home. Young-won shared her feelings. Although Wu Yi had caused her immense pain, he was also her only remaining family. After the divorce papers were filed, Young-won left the familiar house the following day. After much hesitation, Young-won contacted Ti-hyun, suggesting a romantic date. During the date, she enjoyed a pleasant walk with him, remarking, "Days like these are so nice." Then, taking Ti-hyun's hand, she placed it in her pocket, comforting him just as he had comforted her in the past. Ti-hyun sensed what was coming. Indeed, Young-won broke up with him. In her current state, pregnant and emotionally vulnerable, she couldn't selfishly pursue a relationship with him. 3 years later, Young-won thrived in the media world, exposing corrupt officials just as before. At the peak of her career, she also had a lovely daughter. One day, a former colleague called. Today, due to insufficient evidence, the court acquitted Young-won's former father-in-law. The only consolation was the irrefutable evidence against Councilman Mo. At the courthouse, Young-won thanked her colleague and took her daughter home. In Seoul, she met her ex-husband. Wu Yi had been writing to his father every month. Now, besides Young-won, there was another important person in his life, his daughter. To protect her, Wu Yi threatened his father, vowing to expose his remaining crimes and never let him go. After visiting her ex-husband, Young-won went to the police station. The person she most wanted to see was inside. In fact, over the past 3 years, Ti-hyun had sent countless messages to Young-won, reminiscing about their shared moments. He always cared about her life. His messages overflowed with longing for her. Hearing of Young-won's arrival, the broadcasting director rushed to meet her. He had been promoted and hoped she would return to the station to revive Grab Your Color. This time, Young-won didn't refuse to return to the familiar stage. An irrepressible spark shone in her eyes. As a journalist, this was the perfect time to pursue her dreams. During the meeting, a news report on a nearby screen caught Young-won's attention. A police officer, critically injured in a confrontation with a gangster, was fighting for his life. Young-won immediately rushed to the hospital. As she anxiously searched for Ti-hyun, a familiar voice called out from behind. It was Ti-hyun. After 3 years of separation, they were finally reunited. Thankfully, Ti-hyun was all right. Seeing Young-won's tears, he longed to embrace her. Young-won wiped her tears and walked with Ti-hyun. He struggled to walk, so she put her arm around his waist to support him. Ti-hyun smiled warmly and gently took her hand. After the storm, the two deeply in love individuals believed a happy ending was